Cecil Gaines was born as a slave but ended up in Washington working at the White House. He took the long journey from Macon in the South to Washington, D.C. to create a better life for him and his family. In the movie, you follow him through his life. First, you see Cecil as a child and how his family and him are working in a cotton field. When Cecil's father was killed, the mother in the house where they worked takes Cecil with open arms and teaches him to be a house nigger. After many years as a house nigger, he ran away. Then, as a grown-up, he gets a job at the White House in the period 1952 to 1986. Act 1 is when you see Cecil as a child. You meet his family and you see how they work in the cotton field. When he runs away, you reach the top of the line.
Plot point number 1 is when he breaks into the baker shop and then he got hired as a waiter.
Point of no return is when he gets hired at the White House, and it's also here where Cecil and his wife starting getting some problems, and the oldest son joins a rebellion against the segregation, which Cecil doesn't like because he's afraid that Louis will get killed.
Plot point number 2 is when he gets united with Louis again after many years and he quit his job at the White House.
Act 3 is the end. It is also where Cecil and his wife are living happily. He talks with his son and Obama is chosen to be the new president.
Cecil started his life in a cotton field. He ran away and then he got hired at the White House. He likes his job very much. He is told that when you work in the White House, you can't have politics interest. He was told, you hear nothing, you see nothing, you only serve. And because of that, he doesn't think that the idea his oldest son, Louis, got about fighting for equal rights was a good idea. He really tries to be a good father at home, and he wants his kids to have a better childhood than he had. When he got invited to the state dinner, it changes his side a lot. He realized that the things his son has done maybe wasn't a crime.
Louis is Cecil's oldest son. He's very curious and Cecil don't always understand him and his decisions. Louis wants to go in a school in the south, a school called Fisk University, because he wants to change the rights. On the university he joined the Freedom Fighters and he was also involved in the Black Panthers, which was a militant political party that resulted in that he got arrested 16 times in 2 years. The time period where he was a butler was a tough time for the black people. In America it was called segregation. It meant that the white people were against the black people. The white people hated the blacks. They wasn't treated like humans, more like slaves or animals. So any white man could kill a colored person without being punished. And as we see in the movie, Cecil's mother get raped by the man in the house, and he also shoot his father. The white and the colored were also separated. For example, they went to different schools, the buses were divided, and the restaurants had a special area for the colored, so everything was separated. And the Ku Klux Klan was also a group of white people who were against colored, and in the movie we also saw how they attacked the Freedom Riders bus, which Louis was a part of.
Truman was the President of the United States of America from 1945 to 1953. Truman was against racism, and in 1947 his administration published a book called To Secure These Rights and to End All Discrimination Against Colored People. He was born in Missouri, where he practices practices. Oh my god. He was born in Missouri, where he practices racism, so it was natural for him when he was younger.
Eisenhower was the president from 1953 to 1961. Eisenhower had not been known for his support of the civil rights movement. He never gave support to the civil rights movement, believing that you could not force people to change their beliefs.
John F. Kennedy was the 35th President of the United States in 1961 to 1963, the youngest man elected to the office. He was the youngest president to die. On the November 22, 1963, John F. Kennedy got shot in the backhead in his wife's arms. He was also against racism and the Southern's racial segregation. Kennedy was a hope for the freedom.
Lyndon was the 36th President of the United States. As the strength of the civil rights movement grew, John F. Kennedy made passage of a new civil rights bill one of the platforms of a successful 1960s presidential campaign. Lyndon B. Johnson has been credited with being one of the most important figures in the civil rights movement. Nixon was president in 1969 to 1974. He was the 37th president in the United States. Nixon was a Republican senator. Some civil rights historians claim that the re-election of Nixon in 1972 signaled the death of the movement. Nixon also gives the opinion that black will only strengthen the country, so if he could get votes from the blacks, then he was willing to do something about the racism. Gerald Ford was the president from 1974 to 1977. Gerald didn't thought that the civil rights was important to change. Jimmy Carter was the President of the United States from 1977 to 1981. Before he was president, he was the governor of Georgia, where he was known as Jimmy Who, before people started taking him seriously. As president, Carter achieved the best results for energy, transport, and environmental protection. Carter had never been a popular president. He mostly put his focus on the civil rights.
Ronald Reagan was an American politician. He was president in 1981 to 1989. Reagan never supported the use of federal power to provide blacks with civil rights. While he made political points with white Southerners, he was sensitive to any suggestion that his stance on civil rights issues were politically or racially motivated, and he typically reacted to such criticism as attacks on his personality.
Many of the presidents were against the racism, and mostly all of them wanted to change the view on the blacks. A president who really changed something was John F. Kennedy. He stood up for all colored people on live television where he said, and I quote, "I hope that every American, regardless of where he lives, will stop and examine this content about this and other related incidents. This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds. It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal and that the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. All the presidents were interested in getting votes, so if they could get more votes by the black, they were willing to change the behavior against them." Some of the themes in the movie is, for example, racism, civil rights, and politics. So we all think that it's a great movie, and it shows how it was to be a colored person in the 1900s. You learn a lot about the inside in the White House, for example, when they have discussions and take decisions. But all things considered, is it a really great movie, and it's a good eye-opener for what happened in the US under the segregation.